On a beautiful day in Toronto, the sky was a flawless blue, and soft white clouds drifted by as if painting a perfect scene. Yet for Jason, this day was unlike any other he had ever experienced. It felt like a nightmare he had never imagined would befall him. Jason sat silently on a chair in his small living room, a room that he and his wife, Emily, had lovingly adorned with hope for the future. Once a sanctuary of his happiest moments, the room had now turned strangely cold and empty. In his hand lay a single sheet of paper, a fragile sheet that held the power to shatter everything he had built over the past 10 years. He read the words on the paper, each letter, each word, as if desperately searching for a tiny glimmer of hope that it was all just a mistake. Father-son relationship probability 0%. Those lifeless numbers danced mockingly before Jason's eyes, ridiculing the trust and love he had poured into his son for a decade. He felt his heart constrict as if squeezed by unseen hands, each breath growing heavy and labored. Slowly, Jason lifted his gaze toward young Alex, who was playing outside in the yard. Alex, the son he had always cherished, cared for, and proudly introduced as his own, was the boy who had filled him with pride during school sports competitions, who had been obedient and kind to his friends. Alex, the child for whom Jason had been willing to sacrifice everything to protect and nurture, was now revealed to be a child not of his own blood. Everything around him began to dissolve. His heart sank into despair and confusion. Memories of Alex flooded back one by one, like vibrant pieces of a once complete mosaic now torn apart before his eyes. He recalled the first time he cradled Alex in his arms at the hospital, feeling the delicate, soft warmth of his tiny body. In that moment, Jason had shed tears of joy, silently vowing that from then on, his life would exist solely for that little one. He remembered Alex's first unsteady steps, when Jason had reached out with open arms, holding him tightly as joy radiated through every cell of his being. He recalled every first word from Alex, the inaugural daddy, that had melted Jason's heart with boundless happiness. For 10 long years, Jason had been proud to watch Alex grow, becoming older, wiser, more brilliant. He had never for a single moment doubted the bond of blood between them. To him, Alex was always his own flesh and blood, the most precious treasure in his life. But now, all those cherished memories had turned bitter and excruciating. A chilling thought pierced Jason's mind. If Alex is not my son, then who is his true father? That question struck him like a razor-sharp blade, stabbing deep into his soul. He turned his eyes to the family photo hanging on the wall. A picture of him, Emily, and Alex smiling radiantly. Had Emily known this all along? How many years had she concealed this truth from him? The torrent of questions left Jason dazed and overwhelmed. Though his heart ached more than ever, he also realized that he could not remain submerged in despair forever. He needed to uncover the truth. He needed to understand what had happened, why this cruel revelation had befallen his small family. Clenching the paper tightly, he rose with a determination that defied the overwhelming difficulty. He knew that confronting the truth would not be easy, but he had to face it, not only for himself, but for Alex, the innocent child he loved unconditionally. Taking a deep breath, Jason steadied himself. He understood that even if the DNA results might deny their blood relation, the love he had given Alex throughout these 10 years was never a falsehood. No matter how harsh the truth might be, he would confront it with all the courage and responsibility of a true father. What awaited Jason ahead? A truth even more brutal, or perhaps some misunderstanding that could explain it all. He did not know, but one thing was clear. From this moment onward, the lives of him, Alex, and Emily would never be the same. Jason once believed his life was perfect. Every morning, waking up beside his beloved wife, Emily, and their darling son, Alex, he felt like the luckiest man in the world. They lived in a quaint, idyllic neighborhood on the outskirts of Toronto, a place where neighbors greeted each other with friendly smiles and everyone seemed to know one another by name. Their little home, with its white picket fence and a small garden blooming with flowers lovingly tended by Emily, had been a symbol of the happiness Jason had so carefully cultivated. It was the place he longed to return to after exhausting days at work. The venue of dinners filled with laughter as Alex shared the wonders of his day at school. For 10 years, Jason never once doubted that Alex was his own child. He loved the boy unconditionally. From the moment Emily became pregnant to the first time he held Alex in his arms at the hospital, Alex grew up healthy, charming, always joyful, and especially close to Jason. The boy was like a miniature version of him, sharing his passion for baseball and the resolute gleam in his eyes when facing challenges. These were the things that filled Jason with immense pride and left no room for doubt about Alex's origins. But recently, as Alex approached his 10th birthday, things began to change in a most peculiar and unsettling way. It all started with the annual medical checkup that Alex underwent at school. During that routine health exam, the doctor had suggested that Jason take Alex for more in-depth testing, as the boy exhibited a few signs that did not quite match the family's medical history. At first, Jason did not feel overly concerned. However, when he brought Alex in for a comprehensive examination at the hospital, the doctor requested a DNA test for further analysis. Surprised yet compliant, Jason agreed without a thought for the potential consequences. About a week later, Jason received a call from the hospital. The doctor's voice, tinged with hesitation, delivered the crushing news. The DNA results between him and Alex did not match at all. There was no blood relation between them. Hearing those words, Jason felt his entire world collapse. The doctor's words echoed incessantly in his mind, as if he were trapped in the worst nightmare. This could not be. It was inconceivable, he kept repeating, struggling to deny the cruel truth that had been laid bare. He sat motionless in his car for what felt like hours, unsure of what to do, where to go, or how to explain this to Emily and Alex. Each passing second was a torment. He recalled every moment spent with Alex, every embrace, every time Alex called him daddy, and felt his heart break beyond measure. One question after another raced through his mind. How long had this secret been hidden? Had Emily known about it all along? And if she did, why had she so callously kept it from him for 10 long years? Jason resolved to remain silent with Emily for a few days, desperately searching for any clue that might suggest it was all just a misunderstanding. But the more he searched, the more he realized that everything had been scrutinized too thoroughly, leaving no room for doubt. The peaceful life Jason once knew began to crumble bit by bit. Even the family dinners that once filled him with joy now only deepened his pain and torment. Each time he looked into Emily's eyes, he sought even the faintest sign, a hint, a word, any explanation. Yet Emily remained as calm as if nothing had ever happened, deepening Jason's agony and suspicions. At last, Jason began to realize that this secret had been hidden for 10 long years, and now he had to face the harshest truth of his life. The son he had loved with every fiber of his being, the child he had nurtured and protected with his whole heart, was not in fact his by blood. The trust he had placed in his family, the love he had for Emily and Alex, turned into a haunting question mark, squeezing his heart day after day. All Jason wanted now was to uncover the complete truth, to know whether his 10 years of life had any meaning at all, or if they were merely a bitter, painful deception. Most of all, he needed to know if Emily, the woman he adored, was somehow entangled in this ruthless secret. Jason sat in his modest study, where a dim yellow light spilled over the walls, casting a stifling, colder atmosphere than usual. In his trembling hand lay the DNA test result, a stark, unyielding line printed boldly. Father-son relationship probability, 0%. His heart pounded erratically as a cloud of bewilderment and dread engulfed his mind. He could scarcely fathom that such a brutal truth was now his reality. His eyes drifted to the family photograph hanging on the wall, a captured moment of joy from last summer's beach holiday featuring him, Emily, and Alex.
Alex's radiant smile, once a wellspring of happiness and pride for Jason, now served as a painful reminder of the harsh reality. Taking a deep, steadying breath, Jason resolved to unearth the truth. Rising from his chair, he stepped out of the room and headed toward the bedroom where Emily slept soundly. His heart was awash with anger and sorrow, yet overwhelmingly confused. He recalled those distant days, 10 years past, when Emily had first told him she was pregnant. In that moment, boundless joy had erased every doubt, even though back then, there were small oddities he had willingly overlooked. He remembered clearly how, during the early months of her pregnancy, Emily had acted strangely. She would often avert her eyes whenever he mentioned the baby. On certain nights, she'd lie awake in the darkness, staring absent-mindedly out the window. Jason had asked if something was amiss, but Emily had deftly brushed aside his concerns with a gentle smile, attributing it to the natural fluctuations of pregnancy hormones. Now, in the cold light of truth, every small gesture from those days took on an accusatory clarity, as if each was a tiny piece of a grand, enigmatic puzzle. Jason moved to Emily's desk with a racing heart. He began methodically opening each drawer, searching for any clue to illuminate the mysteries tormenting him. Then, beneath a pile of aged papers, he discovered a small locked drawer. With shaking hands, he unlocked it using a key he'd found on the desk. Inside lay a time-worn envelope, its paper yellowed by time. As he held it, a chill spread throughout his body. Jason drew a deep breath and carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a letter from a man named Thomas, addressed to Emily over 10 years ago, just before she had announced her pregnancy with Jason. In the letter, Thomas poured out his deep longing and fervent emotions for the time they had shared. His words laid bare that their bond was far beyond mere friendship. It was a love intense and profound. Thomas wrote unambiguously that he longed for Emily to forsake everything to be with him. Yet Emily had chosen to leave Thomas behind and marry Jason. The letter even mentioned Thomas's suspicion that Emily might be carrying his child, and he implored her for clarity. Each word on that paper struck Jason like a sharpened blade, nearly robbing him of breath. Jason sank into the nearest chair, overwhelmed by the excruciating pain of realizing that Emily had known all along, that Alex was not his biological son and had hidden this truth for a decade. Why had she done it? Did she still harbor feelings for Thomas? Or was she merely trying to protect their fragile family? Questions whirled relentlessly in his mind, leaving him no moment of respite. He wondered if the unconditional love and care he had devoted to Alex over all these years had any meaning at all, or if it was all merely an elaborate, heart-wrenching deceit. As tears blurred the faded ink on the letter, Jason came to the painful realization that his life would never return to what it once was. Amidst the chaos in his mind, one desperate question echoed. Was Emily simply trying to safeguard their delicate happiness? Or was there something even more monstrous lurking behind all these secrets? Jason stood silently before the bedroom door, his breaths coming in heavy, hurried bursts, as if an invisible weight pressed upon his chest. Clutching the crumpled DNA test result in his shaking hand, the harsh words on that paper cut through him like icy daggers, each syllable a piercing blow to his heart. He knew he could no longer remain silent. Gently, he pushed open the door. Inside, Emily sat before the mirror, tenderly combing her hair. Her face was serene, blissfully unaware that their world was on the brink of shattering. When she heard the door open, she turned with a gentle smile, the familiar, cherished smile that Jason had once believed was indispensable to his life. "What's wrong, dear? You don't look well," Emily asked softly, her clear blue eyes brimming with concern. Jason did not answer at once. He slowly approached her and placed the DNA test result on her vanity. As Emily read the document, her face drained of color, her eyes widening in horror. With trembling hands, she picked up the paper and read each line slowly, as if willing herself to deny the truth she dreaded. "Emily, can you explain this?" Jason's voice wavered, striving for calm while his inner anguish roared like a tempest. Emily fell silent, her gaze fixed on the paper as if in prayer that the words were nothing more than a cruel mistake. After a few agonizing seconds, she shook her head, her voice quivering. "No, it can't be. You must believe me. Jason, this is surely an error. Alex is your son, undeniably so." Jason's heart broke at her denial. He had yearned for some confession or clarity, yet instead he was met with another layer of deception. He could no longer bear the torment. "Stop lying to me." "Emily! Please, just tell me the truth," Jason cried, his voice rising in despair.
I deserve to know the truth.
Startled by his outburst, Emily's tears began to flow freely down her cheeks. Collapsing onto a nearby chair, she clutched her face and wept bitterly. In between sobs, she murmured as if speaking to herself, "I'm so sorry, Jason, I truly am. I never meant to hurt you." Jason sank to his knees before her, grasping her shoulders with desperate force, his eyes laden with despair. "Then why? Why hide this from me all these years? Who is that man?" "Emily." Lifting her tear-stained face to his, Emily's eyes shone with remorse and deep sorrow. With a trembling voice that had long been buried under secrecy, she finally confessed the truth she had guarded for 10 long years. "That man's name is Thomas. He was my first love. Before I met you, Thomas was everything to me. We shared a deep past in Montreal, but then he left without a word. I was devastated. I tried so hard to forget him, and then I met you. I truly loved you. Jason, I never intended to betray you."
Jason's breath caught, his heart aching with each word Emily spoke. He looked at her, his voice quivering with raw emotion.
"But why? Why did you keep this from me until now?" Emily dabbed at her tears, inhaling deeply to steady herself, her voice soft yet laden with earnest regret. "I only discovered the truth recently." Thomas returned, unexpectedly, and presented proof that Alex is his biological son. I couldn't believe it at first, but his test results were undeniable. Thomas threatened that if I revealed the truth to you, he would do everything in his power to destroy our family. I was terrified. Jason, I was so afraid of losing you, of losing Alex, of losing everything I hold dear. Jason felt his very life drain away as he slumped onto the floor, staring into the void. The truth Emily had just unveiled was even more devastating than the lies she had hidden. Torn between anger and pity, he could not decide whether to condemn or pity her. The pain was simply too immense. Seeing the despair in Jason's eyes, Emily's heart broke even further. She knelt beside him, taking his cold, trembling hand, her voice a soft, pleading whisper. "Jason, I'm so sorry. Please, believe me. I know I've hurt you beyond measure, but I never meant for this to happen. I love you. Jason, and Alex loves you too. No matter what, you will always be his father, the man I want to grow old with. Please, don't give up on our family." Jason gazed at Emily, his heart a chaotic storm of anger, disappointment, and a sorrowful empathy. He knew that Emily, too, was a victim of circumstances. But could he ever find it in himself to forgive a decade of deception? Jason had never imagined a day like today. A day when he would stand face to face with Thomas, the man he had just discovered to be Alex's true biological father, the very son to whom he had devoted his unconditional love for 10 long years. Thomas's sudden appearance struck like a violent storm, swift, ruthless, sweeping away the fragile peace of the small family that Jason had so painstakingly built. Thomas entered their lives as an uninvited guest, exuding a polished charm, confidence, and an air of haughty sophistication. His wealth and influence were evident from their very first encounter. Without pretense, Thomas declared his intention to take Alex away, to raise him in a luxurious mansion in Montreal, a place he claimed would be the finest environment for the boy's growth and development. Alex, once a bubbly and vivacious child, had turned silent and withdrawn. The abrupt intrusion of Thomas left the little boy utterly disoriented and terrified. Alex could not understand why the man he had always called Daddy, the one who had been by his side since his very first breath, was not, in truth, his father. He could not fathom why Thomas, a stranger to him, now sought to tear him away from the father he so adored and revered. Jason saw the deep, unspoken agony in Alex's eyes. Each time Thomas appeared, The boy's heart seemed to shatter a little more. He would not speak, only bow his head, evading the gazes of everyone around him. Alex's pain was a mirror of Jason's own, a lingering, unrelenting ache that refused to subside. Jason knew that to protect Alex, he must not only confront Thomas, but also wrestle with the internal torment that threatened to unravel the bond he had cherished with his son. Thomas was not content with mere wealth and influence. He wielded his power and extensive connections like a weapon, manipulating public opinion to paint Jason as an impotent father. In the media, Thomas recounted a heart-rending tale of a man robbed of his parental rights over 10 years, a narrative so meticulously crafted that the public began to side with Thomas, transforming Jason from a devoted father into an alleged usurper of fatherhood. Jason's once peaceful life was now in shambles. He faced the scrutinizing eyes of neighbors, friends, and even relatives. Amid the gossip and judgment, nothing hurt more than the distance growing between him and Alex. Every time Jason tried to draw near, to hold his son in his arms, Alex recoiled, his eyes speaking a silent, anguished betrayal, as if Jason himself were the one who had forsaken him. Yet Jason refused to surrender without a fight. He understood, more than anyone, that the love he had poured into Alex over the past decade could not be erased by the revelation of biological truth. He had been present for every precious moment. The first steps, the first words, the cries of pain, and the bursts of joy on birthdays. And no man, not even Thomas, could nullify those cherished memories. Resolved, Jason began to marshal every piece of evidence, records of care, photographs, videos capturing every joyous moment between father and son. With these tokens of their shared past, he hoped to prove that he was the true father in every meaningful way, a father who deserved to remain by Alex's side. The psychological battle between Jason and Thomas grew ever more intense, with Alex caught in the middle as the most grievous victim. The once lively boy became increasingly withdrawn, fearful, and mute. Jason's heart ached as he witnessed the profound pain inflicted on his beloved son, yet he could not give up. He knew that if he yielded now, he would lose the one person he loved above all else. Could the love that Jason had nurtured in Alex for 10 precious years prove resilient against such overwhelming odds? Could he keep Alex by his side? Or would the harsh reality of truth forever sever the bond between them? Though uncertain of the outcome, Jason was resolute. He would fight until his last breath for Alex, the son he had always regarded as his own, not by blood, but by the immeasurable, unconditional love he had given him. In the depths of despair, Jason found himself teetering on the edge of utter collapse. For 10 years, he had loved and cared for Alex as if he were his very flesh and blood. Discovering that the child he had so tenderly nurtured was not biologically his was a blow that shattered his world. And yet, even in the midst of this cruel revelation, Jason's love for Alex burned unyielding. To him, blood was never the measure of a father's love. One quiet evening, as Jason sat alone in the living room beneath the soft glow of a dim yellow light that illuminated old family photos, he lost himself in memories of happier times. Each photograph was a frozen moment of joy, a testament to the life they had once shared. He lingered on Alex's innocent face, the pure, angelic smile that never failed to melt his heart. While absent-mindedly rummaging through a drawer in the desk Emily often used, Jason stumbled upon a concealed folder, hidden beneath layers of old paperwork. A wave of unease washed over him as he opened it with trembling hands. There, written in faded ink, was a medical file bearing the name Thomas Bennett. Jason's heart pounded as if trying to escape his chest. The file detailed a grave, hereditary illness that Thomas suffered from, a serious condition that demanded extraordinary treatment, including the need for organ transplants to sustain life. Suppressing a surge of gasping breath, Jason turned the pages. A folded letter fell out, a letter Thomas had sent to Emily months ago. As Jason unfolded the letter, his hands shook uncontrollably. The contents of the letter would shatter his already fragile world. In it, Thomas made no mention of any paternal claim over Alex. Instead, he laid bare his own intentions with brutal candor. He expressed no desire to care for Alex, nor any willingness to atone for the lost time. Rather, Thomas sought only a compatible organ donor to save another son from a previous marriage. A child, too, stricken with the same perilous disease and teetering on the brink of life and death. Each word in that letter struck Jason like a sharpened blade. It felt as if everything he had believed about Thomas was a lie. Not only had Thomas abandoned Alex while he was still in the womb, but now he was exploiting the innocent child for his own selfish, malignant ends. Jason's mind raced back to Emily's recent peculiar behavior. The tension, the distance, the constant undercurrent of dread in her eyes. Now he understood why she had always seemed so uneasy. She had known of Thomas's sinister machinations, but had been silenced by threats. Thomas had warned her that if she dared to reveal the truth, both Alex and their entire family would pay a terrible price. The realization hit Jason like a tidal wave. He was not only betrayed by the truth about Alex's lineage, but now he faced an even more harrowing danger. A threat that imperiled the very life of the child he loved more than anything. Jason sank to the floor, his back pressed against the wall, his eyes vacant as they stared into the void. A crushing mix of despair and fury overwhelmed him. Yet, in that moment of profound hopelessness, one truth emerged with crystalline clarity. He could not allow Alex to fall into Thomas's clutches. No matter the cost, he would do whatever it took to shield the child from Thomas's monstrous schemes. Steeling himself, Jason rose to his feet, his resolve hardening like forged steel. He carefully returned the file to its hiding place and silently began to formulate a plan. His immediate priority was clear: to keep Alex safe from Thomas's insidious plot, while also protecting Emily from the looming threat. Jason knew that the battle ahead would be ruthless, and he could not afford a single misstep. Gazing once more at the family photograph, his eyes ignited with unwavering determination. Alex might not be his by blood, but that fact was now irrelevant. Jason's heart belonged to Alex, a bond forged by years of unwavering care and love, and he was prepared to sacrifice everything to keep his son safe, even if it meant giving up everything he once held dear. Because for Jason, Alex would always be his son, not defined by genetics, but by the limitless, unconditional love that had blossomed between them over a decade. Jason sat silently on a cold wooden chair in the courtroom in Montreal, his heart pounding so fast he almost felt as though it would choke him. Around him, the space was eerily still. Only the soft rustle of flipping through documents and hushed whispers that seemed intent on piercing his very soul filled the air. Today was the day of reckoning. A day when Jason would have to confront Thomas, the man who was, in truth, Alex's biological father, yet also the one scheming to take away the child Jason had cherished and protected for 10 long years. He knew that the outcome of today would decide the fate of everyone he held dear. As the judge entered the room, Jason's eyes turned to Alex. The little boy sat there, small and bewildered, caught between two men. One he had known as Daddy his entire life, and the other, a complete stranger, yet sharing his blood. Alex's gaze was heavy with sorrow. His tiny hands clutched the edge of his coat as if desperately clinging to the last remnant of peace in his upturned world. Jason felt his own heart searing like a raging fire, each beat a fierce burn that fueled his determination to defend the child he loved more than life itself. He cast a hard look toward Thomas, the man sitting with a self-assured air, his cold, calculating eyes glimmering with ambition and cunning. Thomas offered a slight, challenging smile that only steeled Jason's resolve further. The trial began with Thomas's lawyer launching a barrage of accusations, trying to prove that Jason was unfit to raise Alex simply because they did not share the same blood. They brandished cold, indifferent DNA test results to assault the genuine, heartfelt care that Jason had given Alex for so many years. When it was his turn to speak, Jason rose and fixed his gaze on Alex. He strove to keep his voice calm, though inside, his heart was shattering into 1,000 pieces. "Your Honor, for the past 10 years, I have been a father to Alex with every fiber of my being. I have cared for him since he was a fragile, newborn child. I have spent sleepless nights tending to him when he was sick, cried with him when he fell, and rejoiced every day as I watched him grow strong and happy. To me, Alex is not merely a son, he is my entire life. Jason paused, struggling to swallow the rising tears. The courtroom fell into a profound silence, every soul held captive by his raw, heartfelt words. Yes, perhaps I do not share his blood, but the love I have for him rivals that of any biological father. I believe that it is love and care, not mere blood, that truly define a father. Alex does not need a wealthy, cold man full of scheming motives. What he needs is someone who will always stand by his side, love him unconditionally, and be willing to sacrifice everything for his happiness. With a choked voice, Jason continued, his eyes locking with Alex's. Alex, I want you to know this. No matter what the court decides today, I will love you with every beat of my heart. You are the most wonderful gift in my life. All I wish for is your happiness, my son. And if you find joy in being with me, then I will fight for you until my very last breath. In that moment, the courtroom was awash in silence, thick with emotion. Alex looked up at Jason, his eyes brimming with tears. And then, in a trembling yet clear voice, he said, I only want to live with you. Jason, you are the one who has always been there for me, who loves me unconditionally. I don't care if you are my biological father or not. I know in my heart that you are the only one I love and trust. I beg the court, let me stay with you, Jason, forever. Alex's sincere words resonated deeply, touching every heart in the room, even that of the sternest judge. For the first time, Thomas's confident demeanor faltered, a fleeting look of dismay crossing his face as he realized that no legal victory could win the true, unbreakable bond of love that Alex held. Finally, after much deliberation, the court ruled in Jason's favor, granting him the right to continue raising and caring for Alex. The decision was not just a legal verdict, but a testament to the power of unconditional love, the kind that forms the very foundation of a real family, far beyond the limits of blood. Overwhelmed, Jason embraced Alex tightly as tears of joy washed away the pain and loss of all that had come before. He knew, from this moment on, nothing could ever sever the sacred bond he shared with his son. His love had triumphed over every scheme and obstacle, proving once and for all that true love is the mightiest force in life. Part 8. After a grueling trial, the resonant gavel of the judge finally marked the moment Jason had long awaited. The courtroom fell into a hushed stillness, a fragile relief mingled with the soft emotional sighs and quiet sobs of Emily. In that moment, Jason felt a weight lift from his chest, as if a great burden had been removed after years of suffocating pressure. The judge declared that the custody of Alex would remain with Jason, decisively dismissing Thomas's claims. This ruling was not merely a legal pronouncement. It was a powerful affirmation that the true foundation of family is built upon love, care, and unwavering commitment, not solely on the ties of blood. As the court session concluded, Jason turned his gaze toward Alex. The boy stood quietly, his wide eyes glistening with long-hidden tears. Jason spread his arms wide, and Alex rushed into them, burying his small face in Jason's chest. In that embrace, Jason understood that every ounce of pain, every heartbreak he had suffered, was worth it. For in that moment, he reclaimed the undeniable truth of his love for Alex, and the love that Alex returned to him. On the way home, the family sat in silence, a silence not born of resentment or bitterness, but a calm quietude as their hearts began to heal. Emily sat beside Jason, her eyes filled with gratitude and remorse. Gently, she placed her hand on his and whispered, "Thank you, Jason. I am so sorry for the pain I have caused you." Jason turned to her, acknowledging that the past months of torment had not only scarred him, but had also burdened Emily with deep regret. Squeezing her hand softly, he spoke with heartfelt sincerity. "We have both made mistakes, Emily,
The most important thing now is that we understand each other better and have overcome the greatest trial of our lives. Let us rebuild our world together. I will always be by your side. And together, we will rise above all of this. Moved by his words, Emily's tears flowed freely, and she nodded as if sealing a silent promise for their future. In the days that followed, the family slowly resumed their everyday life. The path was initially steep and fraught with difficulty, especially for Alex, who still wrestled with the haunting truth of his lineage. But Jason, with boundless patience and gentle care, devoted more time to comforting and encouraging Alex, reminding him that the love he had was steadfast and unchanging, regardless of anything else. One quiet evening, as Jason sat reading in the living room, Alex approached and quietly sat beside him. After a long moment of silence, the little boy murmured, "I'm sorry, Daddy. I sometimes doubted how much you truly loved me." Jason closed his book and wrapped an arm around Alex's shoulders, his voice tender and resolute. "Alex, I understand. Sometimes our hearts get shaken by unexpected pain, but always remember, blood does not define a father. I love you because you are you, and because we have shared every precious moment over these 10 years. You will always be my son. Nothing will ever change that." Those sincere words seemed to dissolve all lingering doubts in Alex's heart. The boy nestled closer, his eyes closing as he found solace in his father's unwavering love. In that same moment, Emily, standing quietly in the background, shed tears along her cheeks. It was a sight she had once feared she might never witness again. She realized then that no matter the storms they had weathered, true love possessed a miraculous power to mend even the deepest wounds. In the weeks that followed, Jason, Emily, and Alex grew ever closer. They spent time together, from shared family meals to leisurely weekend outings. Gradually, Alex's bright smile returned, and his inherent confidence blossomed once again. He came to understand that a true father is not defined by mere genetics, but by a lifetime of protection, care, and love. In the end, Jason's family triumphed over the scars of the past. They no longer dwelled in the shadow of old betrayals, but looked forward to a future radiant with hope and happiness. They learned the most vital lesson of all, that family is not merely a matter of blood, but a sanctuary of unconditional love, understanding, forgiveness, and unwavering trust. Together they embarked on a new chapter, a chapter forged in strength, unity, and the timeless, boundless power of love. Part 9. In every human life, love remains the most precious treasure. True, unconditional love, free from selfish motives or stipulations, is the invisible thread that binds us together, forging what we truly call family. Many still believe that only blood ties can build an unbreakable family bond. Yet, the story we have just witnessed reveals a deeper truth, that sincere love and heartfelt devotion possess a strength far greater and more profound than the bonds of blood. At times, life thrusts us into seemingly insurmountable circumstances, moments when we feel as though we might collapse entirely. In those very moments, the only force that helps us stand tall and move forward is the genuine love and care from those around us. No matter how many hardships we face or challenges we must overcome, if our hearts remain filled with love and our spirits stay true, no power or obstacle can ever truly tear us apart. A real family is not defined solely by biological ties or shared blood. True family consists of those who stand by us during our darkest hours, those who open their arms to lift us up when we fall, and those who are ready to protect, shelter, and love us without condition. The real value of a family lies not in sharing the same blood, but in the love, forgiveness, understanding, and unwavering bond that each person offers one another. Throughout our long journey in life, we meet countless souls. Some pass by like a fleeting breeze, while others remain with us for a lifetime. And it is these enduring presences, those who choose to remain in our lives, whose genuine love and sacrifice uplift us, that ultimately create a family in the truest sense. They are the ones who, despite not sharing the same blood, are prepared to give everything for us, always stand by our side in our moments of need, and trust us even under the most trying circumstances. In this story,
The father we have come to know did not share the same blood with the child he so dearly loved. Yet the love he bestowed upon his son was deeper and more profound than that of any biological father. His love was revealed in every small act, every tender gesture of care, every sleepless night by his child's side during times of sickness, every sincere word of advice, and every tear shed in pain when his child was hurt. It is this unfeigned, heartfelt love that defines a true father. This story powerfully demonstrates that when we love someone with all our heart, we discover the strength to overcome any barrier, to surmount every obstacle, even those that seem insurmountable. In the end, no deceit, no dark plot, no seemingly impossible trial can prevail against the might of genuine love. As long as we live true to our hearts, loving and trusting those around us, everything will eventually find its way toward healing. So, believe in the wondrous power of love. Trust that when we care for, protect, and cherish those around us with sincerity, we will always receive that same true, heartfelt love in return. Though life may present us with countless challenges, and though we may at times face deep emotional wounds, it is our genuine love and earnest spirit that serve as the key to overcoming it all. If this message has touched you deeply, if the story we have shared resonates with your heart, please show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Let us together spread this powerful message about the enduring strength of sincere love and the true meaning of family. A message that we believe will help create a kinder, brighter world where genuine love is cherished and shines ever brightly.